Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Legends of Sport podcast presented by Fujifilm. I'm your host, Andy Bernstein. Folks, today's guest is somebody I've known since his rookie year in the NBA. Larry Nance Jr. came in the 2015-16 season as a young rookie out of University of Wyoming, of all places, and got to play his rookie year in Kobe's last year. So we talked a lot about what that was like, coming in as a rookie to the NBA, having to play with this legendary athlete during the farewell tour season. That was really interesting. Larry and I have a lot of history with his family, especially because I was there when his dad did the iconic winning dunk in the 1984 NBA Slam Dunk Contest, which was brought back by David Stern and Rick Welts. Um, After years and years of not having a dunk contest in the NBA All-Star Weekend, which, by the way, was a game before '84, they brought back the concept from the ABA days. So Larry Nance won the initial inaugural contest, which was amazing. And Larry and I, when we first met, joked about the fact that he had that print of his father's iconic dunk hanging in their house while he's growing up, which is like the ultimate compliment to me. So anyway, we had a great conversation. Great to catch up with Larry. He's rehabbing a busted bone in his leg right now, so trying to get back on the court. Currently with the Atlanta Hawks, so wishing him well. Larry is a girl dad with two little girls. Married his college sweetheart Haley. So we have girl dad stuff in common, and just so great to catch up with him. One of the biggest things, as you know, on this podcast that we like to talk about is what do these athletes or famous people in sports do off the playing field, off the surface, off the court? And Larry's been so instrumental in starting an organization called Athletes versus Crohn's. Crohn's disease, very debilitating disease to have to grow up with and live with throughout your adult life. Luckily now there's really good treatments out there. But Larry talked very candidly on the podcast about what it was like growing up with Crohn's disease, which was undiagnosed until his teenage years, in his case, and what he's doing now to give back. So we'll talk about that in the podcast. We'll put all his links on the social media. And as always, folks, I'm glad to bring this podcast to you. So sit back and enjoy this conversation with the great Larry Nance Jr. And as always, I'll see you on the backside. First of all, back up. I want to welcome you to the Legends of Sport podcast, man, because you and I have been trying to get this worked out for a while. Finally worked out great. I'm here at All-Star Weekend, which brings back some great memories um, of two generations of Larry Nance's. So could we talk about that just a little bit? When
Absolutely.
when you and I first met, when you were a rookie in 2015, right? And I remember on media day, I don't know, I had the guts to come up to you and show you this picture. Do you remember this? I showed you a picture of your dad doing his famous winning dunk from the '84 contest. And I tell this story all the time. And you looked at it and goes, yeah, we had that hanging up in our house,
hmm
one of my dad's favorites. And you literally said to me, said, "Where'd you get that?" And I said,
I had no idea.
then you said, "Where'd you get that?" And I said, "Well, I took it." And then you looked at me like no one had ever looked at me before. You said, "How the blank old are you?"
Look, look, man, you got to understand. Ever since I can remember anything, that picture has been at the forefront of our house.
Yeah.
It's just been right there. It's massive in our house still to this day.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? I guess I haven't given any thought to the fact that like, yeah, there was somebody on the other side of this.
Right?
All I was worried about was like, dang, he got up pretty high.
Yeah, your dad got up really high, and it's still one of the most iconic. My photo lives on, but the moment was so iconic because the NBA had finally brought back the dunk contest in '84.
Mhm.
Um, Before that, it wasn't even a weekend. I'm here at All-Star Weekend. The game is like an afterthought. You go
Right.
through it, and Back then, it was a game on a Sunday afternoon before '84, and then Rick Welts, with all his genius, and David Stern decided to make it into a weekend and bring the dunk contest back, right? So fast forward to you being in the dunk contest, right? In what year was it? 2018?
2018. Yep.
Okay, so I got to know how that whole thing came down. Obviously, somebody calls you to be in the dunk contest, deservedly so. One of the great dunkers of the era right now. And you make that call to your dad. So what was that like?
Honestly, there was no call made. There
Really?
was no, there was no call made. It was honestly something that I had dreamed of doing
Okay.
for as long as I could remember.
Uh-huh.
Um, I knew I just, man, like how cool would that be? If I ever got a chance to do that, obviously I could jump and I'm a good athlete, but who knows if I'll ever make it to the NBA.
Yeah.
And fortunately I got presented with the opportunity from the NBA. I got invited.
Hmm.
Shout out Michael Levine. He's the man.
Mike Levine.
He's the
Exactly.
best.
The man. Hmm.
He's the best, but he's who invited me, and of course, he can't turn that down. It's a dunk
No.
contest in LA. I was playing for the Lakers at the
Right.
time, like, and so it was never a decision of, it was never asking him. It was just like, hey,
Yeah.
we've talked about it. You're doing it.
Yeah. It's awesome.
You're doing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you come out in your dad's iconic Suns jersey, complete with the short shorts, by the way, which was pretty amazing, I think.
He had to add that touch.
And then you ask the old man to be part of your dunk routine, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I had him throwing lobs and everything.
That's beautiful, man. I mean, it just was for me, it was like a Phil Jackson full circle moment, to see
Hmm.
father and son. And my son was working for me at the time, and it was just such a wonderful moment. And I
That's
hope it
so
was
cool.
I hope it was for you too. So Larry,
No, it
that
absolutely was. It
that
absolutely was.
that rookie year, you were part of a great going away party, basically a
Hmm.
farewell tour for the great Kobe
Hmm.
Bryant, our dear friend. Um, I mean, coming into the league is hard enough as a rookie, but then you're like part of this farewell tour. I mean, he announced it, I think, at the beginning of the season, right? So how did you guys? I haven't asked anybody this. I didn't even ask him this, but how did you guys stay focused? Because there's so much hoopla going. Every arena becomes the last arena he's going to play in, and especially towards the end after All-Star break. Um, so how did you guys stay locked in with all that going on?
Short answer is we didn't.
Mm,
We didn't. It was so much bigger than us that nobody really, we got lost on our own individual,
mhm.
progress, and kind of got lost in the whimsy of what was going on around us.
Sure.
Like we were, obviously you have D'Angelo, who is freshly 19, Julius, who was basically a rookie that year because of what happened to his leg the year before,
Right.
Jordan, who was
Yeah.
coming into his own as a second round pick, myself trying to establish minutes. We
Yeah.
had got real like real players trying to figure out how to survive in this league, but
Yeah.
none collectively, individually, we all knew nothing we were doing or trying to do was bigger than the moment that was happening in front of us.
Yeah.
And so we all just cherished it, just
Yeah.
tried to live in it and soak up as much as we could.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like I've gotten to do some really cool things in my career. We talked about the dunk contest with my
Hmm.
dad.
Hmm.
I have a hard time coming up with something that could possibly be cooler than the things we got to see and do that
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, especially that last game, which no one,
Hmm.
even in playing in Hollywood, basically, no one could have written that script of him coming back from this horrific injury, you know, getting himself back at his age, not wanting to go out with an injury defining, when he left the game. And then, dude comes out, drops 60, drops the mic, Mamba out. He's hugging everybody and
Hmm.
walks away from the game just like that. I
No, you're
mean,
right.
it's
You're
kind
right.
of, I'm very nostalgic right now because this is the first All-Star weekend that I'm not working as a photographer. I obviously
Right.
retired after last season,
Right.
and it's very liberating, I got to tell you, right? But
Happy for you. I'm
but it's
happy
also
for
a
you.
little bit like, shouldn't I be like doing something,
Hmm.
after retirement, when Kobe and I did the book, I asked him, I said, you going out to shoot once in a while? He goes, nope. He goes, all I'll do is play with Gigi. That's it. He said, I don't go shoot. I don't work out. you know,
That's
it's,
awesome.
and I mean, he was still working out, but he wasn't doing basketball workouts.
Right.
And do
Nah,
you, and
mm.
you're still a ways away from that, but your dad maybe was a little bit of a role model. I mean, walking away from the game is something that, at this point in your career, maybe is in your consciousness, right?
Oh,
Um,
it's something you've got to plan for and think about.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And you've done incredible stuff off the court. I mean, your athletes versus Crohn's, which you and I connected on.
Thank
Um,
you.
I did want to ask you, growing up with Crohn's as an athlete, I can't even imagine what that was like for you until it was diagnosed. You were a teenager when it was diagnosed, right?
Right. Yeah. So I was diagnosed. So first of all, Crohn's is an autoimmune disease that attacks your GI tract. So
Yeah,
anywhere, basically where you put food in to where food comes out.
yeah.
And it just for a little bit of background for anybody that's listening. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something you have forever and can be managed with a myriad of different drugs. But I'm on one called Remicade, but
Mm-hmm.
that has allowed me to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But I got diagnosed with that when I was 16.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got diagnosed, again, the Nances. The Nances are a giant family. My dad's 7 foot. My little brother's 7 foot. My sister's 6'4". Like we are a family full of giant folks. And so when I got diagnosed, I was as a sophomore playing the backup shooting guard on junior varsity.
Wow. Yeah.
I was 5'10", 140 pounds,
No way,
which
really?
again, that sounds okay. It
Yeah.
wasn't, it wasn't for the
Sure.
Nances.
Sure.
And so, I was just shorter than what I would
Yeah.
normally be.
Yeah.
But once I got diagnosed, my growth came back, my appetite came back, but we're still
Huh.
think I still probably, doctors are still pretty sure that I missed out on 2 to 3 inches of growth just because I got diagnosed so late.
Amazing. So, not to get graphic or anything, but growing up and not being able to eat like any normal
Hmm.
kid and teenager, really, I don't want to use the word normal, but like I suffered from an undiagnosed gluten sensitivity until I was in my 30s, like
Mm,
or 40s, actually, a doctor didn't figure it out. And it's very debilitating. I mean, it's like, you're trying to live life. You want to eat that. Maybe I can eat it today, but you can't eat that today, because you
right.
know what the consequence is going to be. And as an athlete, well, you have to watch your calories and you have to, have certain amount of all kinds of foods and all that. It just, and not knowing that there was something actually diagnosable, if that's a word, um, it had to be very frustrating, is all I'm trying to kind of get at, right? As a kid.
No, without a doubt. Without a
Yeah.
doubt, I was always in the back of every photograph with the teachers,
Yeah.
of every school picture with the teachers, standing back there, taller than the rest of the class, and
Yeah.
bigger, faster, stronger. And as the years went on, it started to just drop and drop and drop to where I
Yeah.
just, leveled out as again, it's hard to use the word normal. I don't want to say normal, but
Yeah.
like, leveled out as a once I got to be at that level of normal, what normal kids felt, my growth just
Yeah. Yeah.
skyrocketed, and it was frustrating. But at the
Yeah.
same time, it's also made me so much tougher,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
stronger, the person I am today.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm sure you have a strict diet, obviously, that's just has
Hmm.
become your regimen. Like any athlete, really, but you probably a little bit more careful than most athletes are. Yeah.
Just a bit,
Yeah.
just a bit. Yeah, just a bit. Lot of chicken Caesar salads
Right.
and wine and rice blends for me.
Yeah, you and I probably could have a great lunch or dinner together because there's a lot of stuff we both can't eat. Um, so
Very
Larry,
bland, I bet.
yeah, but so I got to go back, Larry, because this has stuck out at me since I met you. All right, so you're growing up in Akron area,
Hmm.
right? And
Yep.
you're a Midwest guy, and all of a sudden you're going to University of Wyoming. So I got to know where that came from. How did that
So
happen?
that's a good story. That's a good story, actually. So,
Yeah.
um, when I was diagnosed again, and it all comes back to Crohn's. My entire story comes back to Crohn's. When I
Uh-huh.
got diagnosed, I only got a chance to play 1 year of get seen basketball, of AAU basketball,
Hmm.
because I just wasn't good enough to really wasn't good enough yet.
Yeah.
And So that was going into my senior year. And by that time, guys are already committed. Guys are off going to school. Guys are off, already had been committed for 2, 3 years at this point. So I'm scrapping the bottom of the barrel for anybody that has an offer left. And so,
Huh.
I played that summer and, I'm considering Bowling Green. I'm considering Toledo. I'm
Mhm.
considering Ohio University.
Mhm.
And that's about it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then slowly, Ohio University, they lost their scholarship due to academic
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
Toledo, they got in trouble for something, lost a scholarship.
Yeah.
It's funny, Bowling Green, where I took a visit. I wanted to go there, but they took another name. They took a kid whose name might be familiar now as well, Rashawn Holmes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've heard of him. Yeah,
So
for
so
sure.
yeah, so Rashawn went to
Yeah.
who's I think I just saw him playing for the Wizards the other day, but he took my scholarship to Bowling Green. And so I was kind of out of luck. And my
Yeah.
dad goes on this campaign during my senior year of driving to basically every Ohio school he could think of, Cincinnati, Ohio State, Akron U, Kent State, you name it. And he's driving to these coaches' office asking for meetings, saying, "Hey, look, my son can play. I
Wow.
promise.
Wow.
Like, please take a look at this kid."
Yeah.
And got told by every one of them, hey, he is not a Division I basketball player.
Huh.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So Larry Shyatt, the head coach of Wyoming, was
Uh-huh.
born and raised in Cleveland. Coached at Cleveland or coached at Clemson when my dad had come back for some some thing. My dad went to Clemson, so he came
Yeah.
back for some celebrity something,
Yeah.
and he caught word that hey, Larry Nance's kid doesn't have a scholarship. He's probably going Division two.
Huh.
And so, sight unseen, he flew to Ohio, drove to our house, and offered me a scholarship.
Wow.
The next week, I took a visit and committed within days. I was committed within a week and a half of their interest.
What a great story, man. I'm glad you
It's kind
told
of
me that.
wild.
No,
Yeah, it's kind of wild.
because that's always stuck out. I mean, Wyoming is great, great state, great campus. I actually visited it once with my dad on a trip. Um, but to me, it seems just like Siberia of of NCAA Division One, right?
You and me both before I
Yeah,
went.
right. But it's super competitive, that conference. So I don't know if they've broken that conference up or what the deal is now. The Big Ten is now in California, so figure that
Who
out.
knows, man? Who
But
knows?
but you had a great career there, Larry, and you got to meet your future wife there, Haley, right?
Yes, yes,
It-
yeah. My girlfriend swam there, and now she's my wife. So I'm
yeah,
two beautiful girls.
I know. It's
Incredibly lucky.
amazing, man. And you're a girl dad, right?
Wouldn't trade it for the world.
Which, of course, Kobe would embrace more than anything,
Mhm.
probably, as being a girl dad. And
Yeah,
and I really need to ask you another thing, Larry, about the life of, and I really haven't talked to players about this, or former or current, but the transient life of being a pro athlete with
yeah.
a family, which is like 100 times more complicated than if you're just a single guy, and you're
Mhm.
going from one apartment to the other. I mean, you have a family who you establish some roots. You have a young family, which is probably better that, kids aren't like entrenched in school and sports and all that. But um, and you have to be a partner. You have to have a great partner. It has to be a partnership that, she knew what she was getting into. You're not going to play 20 years like Kobe in the same place. I mean, it just doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
Um, how do you guys deal with that? How do you're in New Orleans for a few years, and then all of a sudden now you're in Atlanta, which, by the way, one of my favorite cities. Um,
The great city.
oh, my mom lived there for years. I used to go there and shoot all the time. The old Omni was way before your time. Your dad played the Omni.
My dad still loves the Omni.
The Omni, yeah. The history in that place was amazing with the eggshell ceiling and everything. But is this something that's just you just roll with it, and okay, we're going to Atlanta, and that's that. Pack it up. Let's go. Let's just get going. And it's the middle of the season. So how do you deal with that?
Um, so when I met my wife, I didn't know it would be all this. But when I met her in college, it was like I told her one of the first times we saw each other, it was like, hey, look, just so you know,
Hmm.
I already have a number one in my life.
Hmm.
Right? Like basketball is it for me. Like
Hmm.
this is I've been chasing this for too long to give up on it now. That me and you can work, but you like basketball is number one for me.
Hmm.
And obviously now that's changed, right? Her and my daughters are number one and not even close. But like
Right.
that that kind of me telling her that she just kind of knew like, hey, yeah, like I'm in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is only, max. This is gonna
Uh-huh.
be, it's not gonna be 20 years.
Right.
I'm at year 10 now. I'd like to get 15. I'd like
Yeah.
to get, yeah, I mean, it's a short portion of our life
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
is, one of the most important portions of my life. And so
Right.
she's sacrificed so much in allowing me to chase this dream and continue to live it.
Hmm.
Um, and again, you say it's got to be a partnership, and she has been just truly the best partner I could ask for. Taking care of the girls when I'm on
Yeah.
the road, and
Yep.
and helping my daughters understand that, like, yeah, yes, dad's got to leave again, but
Hmm.
it's for us.
Hmm.
And it's for us. This isn't forever. It's
Hmm.
just it's cool. Daddy gets to,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but it's definitely not easy. I'm sitting here in Atlanta right now, and
Hmm.
and my family's in Cleveland. I'll get to
Mm.
see him tomorrow, but
Hmm. Hmm.
um it's definitely not easy with young kids and a wife that you love so much. It's hard, but at the
Yeah.
same time, we sacrifice so much to get here that
Yeah. Yeah.
you just got to give it all to you got to give everything to it while you're here, because it doesn't
Yeah.
last long.
For sure. I mean, and you and I both know that it doesn't end at the buzzer. Like the game isn't
No.
over, and then no, there's you got to go home. Kobe used to talk about it all the time. He'd go home and ice for 3 hours,
Hmm.
and of course he was obsessed, and he'd be up. He probably didn't sleep very much. He'd be up watching film for the game tomorrow and all that. And the family
Right.
has to understand that. I mean, you're rehabbing right now an injury, so you can come back, stronger than you were.
Hmm.
And that's the priority. And for me too, same thing. I mean, I was traveling like a maniac, and I'd be doing Lakers and Clipper games at home. I had little
Right.
kids in the house. I actually got remarried, and we had a blended family, which is even more complicated with all the dynamics. They were preteens. Anyway, I don't have to tell you, but somehow with a great partner, you can get through it. And
Yes.
I was blessed, and I am blessed, just like you were, and you are. And being a girl dad, I have three girls, and my son is the oldest. So, there's a lot
Man,
of,
there's nothing like it.
it's the best. Yeah. And once they
There's
start
nothing
playing,
like it.
once they start playing sports, especially now with so much attention and rightly so on women's sports, it's just wonderful. It's the greatest thing ever.
It
So,
is.
yeah.
No, it is. It's something that ever since having girls, obviously, been a fan and been supportive of, but now I'm starting to you know, try to watch some WNBA games and
Yeah.
watch some NWSL games so that when my daughters
Yeah.
get to age of sport,
Yeah.
that I can really like, hey, you want to go watch, you want to go watch, Sophia Smith play,
Yeah.
Trinity
Yeah.
Rodman play, like,
Yeah.
know these names of these women that they're going to be looking up to,
Yeah.
and just really start to immerse myself in it. So it's been
No.
fun, and like you
Yeah.
said, I just wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah.
It's just the best.
You made me just talking about that. You made me remember back when the Sparks started, 1997. They played at the Forum, right?
Hmm.
And I took my daughter then, she was, what was she, 4, and with all of her little friends and the dads and everybody. And after the game, she said, "Dad," and they loved it, women playing at this highest level. And she said, "Dad, is that the same place that Kobe and Shaq play?" It's like they couldn't, and immediately it was like, wow, I could actually. She didn't want to become a basketball player, but I could actually aspire to that, And I've
Yeah,
talked
I
this.
can do what Kobe and Shaq can do.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. I've talked to so many people from Nancy Lieberman, Cheryl Miller, even Lisa Leslie, but she had a chance to play in the WNBA, but they had nothing to aspire to past the Olympics.
Mhm.
There's no professional league. They had to go overseas, and that was it. So it's just a wonderful era for us as dads of girls to be able to be on the same playing field. I mean, we got to get the money thing kind of worked out, right?
Right.
But at least the attention and the interest of the public is there, right?
No,
And
you're right. And
yeah.
it's funny you mentioned, Nancy Lieberman and
Hmm.
Lisa, and the greats like that. Because for me, again, we're we're just a few generation we're
Yeah.
generations separated. And so for me,
Yeah.
like I got to, Nancy, it was Nancy and Lisa. For like for me, I've gotten the pleasure of being around, just over the past few years, Teresa Witherspoon, who
Oh,
made an impact on me way bigger than basketball. Swin
yeah.
Cash, who
Swin.
made an impact on me way bigger than basketball. Like
Yeah.
these women that like if these
Yeah.
women that like I'm looking at knowing their accolades and like it's
Hmm.
just so, a little starstruck by. Meanwhile, it's like,
Sure.
if you took like their counterpart of the NBA has been getting attention, like has been getting, attention for so much longer that,
Hmm.
it's a shame that we can't acknowledge them at the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
These are legends of the sport, legends of the game, and it's really cool that, they're we're in a state of the world where they're starting to get their appreciation and just due.
Yeah,
It's
for
it's it's
sure.
really it's really fun and really cool to be a part of.
No, absolutely. You talk about Swin specifically, who's a good friend and been on the podcast. And I know, she was an executive in New Orleans when, and also Teresa Witherspoon was
Hmm.
assistant coach over there. But Swin is so involved off the court with her foundation and what she's trying to promote. And, I'm sure she was an example to you, somebody that when you started to think about what you can do to give back off the court, it must have been, really impactful to see somebody like her who has a pretty busy job, but she spends
Yeah.
the time to build what she's building. And so when you established Athletes versus Crohn's, tell me about that process, just putting that all together and what you do each year for that, and how we can help promote that on the Legends of Sport podcast.
So first of all, I appreciate you bringing it up. Yeah,
Hmm.
obviously this is the passion of mine, and
Hmm.
raising money and awareness for for kids with Crohn's disease.
Hmm.
Um, but it came about just so organically. I love the story. There. So I put my story out about having Crohn's, maybe my rookie year in the NBA, and USA Today picked it up, and
Hmm.
I started getting just DM direct messages and stuff on Instagram and Twitter, people just reaching out like, "Hey, how cool! I have Crohn's. That means a lot to know, this, and that." Very
Hmm.
cool, uplifting messages, and so that started to mean a lot to me, and I would respond to them. And I got this one. There was this kid in New York that wrote me this long message, just long message about how, he plays with me in 2K, and he's having a hard time with it and all this stuff. And so we played the Knicks or the Nets here there in like a few weeks. So I
Hmm.
text messaged him back like, "Hey, got two tickets. You and your dad, would
Hmm.
love to meet you." And so we played that game, and I met him on the court afterwards,
Hmm.
and just told him just passively like, "Hey, I'd love to do more in with the community. I just don't know how yet or where my lane is," and
Hmm.
just passively like that.
Yeah.
And so I actually, formed a relationship with him and met with him again. We played the Knicks maybe a week later, and they had the idea of starting this foundation together to do exactly what I had suggested I wanted to do more of, was get involved with the Crohn's community and kind of
Hmm.
be a voice, be a leader for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we ran with it. We ran with it. We
Hmm.
were based out of New York, and
Hmm.
we've been putting on fundraisers and putting experiences together and giving out scholarships. And it's been eight years now
Wow. Yeah.
of millions. I mean, fortunately, million, very cool, millions of dollars raised, and
Hmm.
funding research, and I think we just this past summer we gave out our two. We gave just eclipsed $200,000 in scholarships,
Oh my God. God
given
bless you,
out
Larry. That's
given out to these
amazing.
kids.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
So it's we're doing some good things with it, and
Mhm.
just hoping to inspire and show the next generation of kids and athletes with Crohn's disease that, look,
Hmm.
whether you want to be whether you want to be a professional athlete, a doctor, a the greatest photographer of all time, Crohn's is one thing that certainly can't stop you from that. And
Hmm.
and I'm just trying to be a living, breathing example of that.
Well, that's beautiful, man. And what do you have coming up this summer? Do you do the golf tournament? And what do you have coming up that we can promote?
Well, right for in season, we just do a lot of, like experiences, like, I'll
Hmm.
go meet, we'll contact hospitals, and
Hmm.
and they'll send kids to the game, and I'll I'll meet and talk with them
Yeah.
afterwards and stuff like that. But in the summertime, yes, in New York,
Hmm.
we do our golf outing every summer,
Hmm.
um, which is a big deal. It's
Yeah.
up in White Plains. So
Do you have it?
that's kind of our heavy hitter. But we
Do,
don't have much. We don't have. I'm sorry. Go
no,
ahead.
that's a big thing. I mean, do you have a date yet for that, or is it you
Uh,
still working that out?
Still working on the date. Obviously,
Yeah.
it weighs heavily on the NBA season and where the Atlanta Hawks are in terms of in terms of playoff picture. So we'll see how that shakes out.
All
But
right.
yeah, it's going to be mid July just about every year.
Well, you can always count on me for anything, sign prints, Kamamba book, whatever.
I
So I'm
appreciate you.
happy to
Thank
be
you.
part of it. I love what you're doing, Larry, and it's just so great to catch up with you. You know, it warms my heart to. I remember media day that year. You coming out like this little kind of wild-eyed, a little bit wide-eyed. You're in LA. It's media day. You got this legendary guy over here.
Hmm.
There's a lot. Got the Lakers across the chest. But you're always just so approachable as a person, and over the years, and I'm just thrilled that we got to sit down today, actually, and chop it up on the podcast. So thank you.
No, you and me both, man. We've been it just for the last 10 years we've been just kind of orbiting around each other for
Yeah,
a while now. So
yeah,
it is great to definitely get a chance to sit down and chat a little bit. But
yeah.
dude, there's if there is absolutely anything in this world that I can do for you,
Thank you.
I'll do it without a
Well,
question.
no, I appreciate it.
You meant a lot to even without knowing it. You meant a lot to my childhood with the with all the stuff we have with my dad, and you've meant a lot to me during my playing time. So
Thank you, my friend.
um, I
I will
appreciate you.
say the one thing I do miss is being at a game and needling you a little bit during pregame warmups. Remember, I used to say to you, "Say, gonna give me one today, Larry, or what?" And
Yes.
and you would come through every game. I mean, there would be a dunk of some kind, and I would send it to you, right? I
Oh
DM
yeah,
it,
right
yeah.
away, right
And,
away.
and say thank you, Larry. That actually started, believe it or not, that started back way back with Karl Malone, who
Really?
was not known as a dunker, right? But he had this dunk, which you'll remember, and your dad certainly will. It's called the Pretty Boy Dunk, where he'd go up, put his hand behind his head, and he'd dunk. And
Mm.
this is true story, he would dunk and then come around before he ran back up the court. He'd do a big loop in front of me, and he looked down. He'd be up there, I'd be down there. He says, "You get that one? Did you get that one?" So this is
You gotta love it.
back in the film days. And so, I'd be in Utah or whatever. The next time I'd see him, I'd make a print and I'd put on the back of it, "Yes, I got that one, Karl."
That's awesome. How cool is that?
And so that had the evolution of that now in digital, where I could send that to you almost immediately. It's pretty cool. So
It really was. Yeah, after the game, I'd have it right in my direct messages, like you got me that one tonight. Yeah,
that's right.
it's
Well, it's self-serving because I wanted you to post it and tag me on it. So anyway,
yeah, there
Larry,
were plenty of those.
big hug to you for a quick recovery. Not easy, of course, but you'll get
Yeah,
back. I'll be seeing you on the court soon. And please
absolutely.
say hi to Haley for me. She's always been so sweet when I see her. And
Absolutely. I will do. I will do.
yeah, enjoy being a girl dad because I got to tell you, man, and any parent, yours, mine, anyone will tell you, it goes by like that. I mean, like that. My little girl now is going to be 17, looking at colleges, and I'm like, where did this time go? I got two in their 30s, one that's 29, and I'm grateful for all of it, but you can't get the time back with them. And I think
Right.
you get that and you really understand how important that is. So,
I do. So allow
yeah.
me to ask you this one last thing.
Yeah.
So you've said your last is 17, and
Yeah.
right now my oldest is 4. I've
Oh
got a
boy.
4 in April. I have a 4 and a 1 year old, two girls.
Yeah.
What uh what is the age that I need to buckle in for?
Well, dude, you've heard this from other people with girls. Once the change starts happening in the body and the hormones and the whole thing, which happens around 12, 13-ish, right? My girls are actually late bloomers. Um, something interesting happens. now it's like they love both of you probably equally and all that stuff. There's a weird change. Like they start turning a little bit against the mom. I think it's just nature. And then like they become more of daddy's girl at that point.
Okay.
And then in my experience, then it takes the mom a little bit more time to kind of get back into, their graces and all that. And like my 30-year-old just came home from medical school, and all of a sudden she's like 14 again. Take care of me, mommy. Take me here. And she's in medical school, right? um, which is great, and she gets to be coddled a little bit. But when they start playing sports, right? I
Mhm.
know you're a big soccer guy, and you're out there, and maybe you're coaching, or just a parent, on the sidelines, and they see that support. My daughter, one of my daughters was a dancer, and she danced before she could walk, honestly. She was literally dancing before she could put shoes on her. She's become a professional dancer and just supporting them from day one. And you had a dream, I had a dream. My parents didn't particularly necessarily support my dream. They were like, you'll literally, my father said to me, he said, you know what, you'll grow out of that photography thing and get a real job one day.
Well,
So
still waiting on that real job.
yeah, so things kind of worked out. But as you alluded to earlier, it's a window of your life being a professional athlete. And God willing, man, you'll have many years ahead of you, but you'll be young by the time you retire, right?
Right.
And you won't be even 40 yet. And at 40, I couldn't even figure out what was going on with kids and work and financially, it's a good situation that you'll be set up for their future. It's a beautiful thing. And then you talk about time, you're gonna have a lot of time, and that's
Right.
going to be very valuable. So enjoy it. Let them know they have a safe place to talk about difficult things.
Mhm.
And I always say that the biggest job as a parent is really helping them make healthy choices. I mean, just giving them the ability to discuss difficult topics, and knowing that look, there's life or death situations that are going to come up. I mean, literally, like you could decide to get into a car with somebody who's been drinking, or you can decide not to get into a car with somebody who's drinking. I mean, this is life and death. This is not
No, you're
just
right.
like what outfit am I going to wear to so and so's party. So we have to be very clear about that as parents, and for girls especially, because they're vulnerable. I mean, they obviously that's never going to change, I don't think.
Right.
And I mean, I think you guys are a great team, and I would love to see you guys in action at some point, with these girls. I get a snippet of that when you post these really great like short videos or photos on Instagram.
Oh
So
yeah, man.
yeah, so keep doing it.
I will. I will. I will. No, I appreciate that. That's I'll definitely take that to heart. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it'd be too hard. These girls know that they know I'd do anything for them.
Yeah, for sure. And do me one other favor. Just say hi to the old man when you see him, because it was
Always.
one of the highlights of my career shooting that dunk contest. There was a lot of pressure. I mean, I covered that dunk contest by myself. Now, NBA Photos has a crew of like 30 people here in San Francisco. I was there by
Crazy.
myself, with one camera. And he gave me that tremendous dunk, which lives on in infamy. So I'll
It
always be
is true that
thankful.
that picture does make its rounds on social media every so often. Just like, man, look at what a freak this guy was. And it's like, yeah, that's well, I
Yeah.
know both of them actually. The one in front of him behind the camera. It's really it's cool to see. It's
I
cool to
love
see.
it. I love it, Larry. Well, listen, man, thanks again. Heal up quick. I want to
Thank you,
see I
man.
want to see you back on the court ASAP. And I'm sure I'll see you. Maybe I'll try to catch a Hawks game. I don't think you're coming through LA again this season.
No, we already
But
did our LA trip, but
yeah.
who knows? Who knows? It might be we'll see in the finals, you know?
Yeah, that I like that. I like
We'll
that.
see in the
Well,
finals.
Trey is here, right? He took Giannis's place, so
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, we got Trey and Zach out there right now,
Zach, that's
so
right.
hopefully they'll hold it down for us.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for taking the time, Larry. Always great to see you,
Always.
buddy. And
Always great to see you.
I'm always there for you, whatever you need. Okay.
Likewise.
Thanks,
Appreciate you,
pal.
Andy.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye. Well, huge thanks to Larry Nance Jr. for joining me on this episode of the Legends of Sport podcast. You know, one of the favorite guys that I always loved to be around. Followed his career obviously since the beginning. Wishing him a really quick recovery from his injury, and love chopping it up. I love talking to a guy who I've known since his rookie year. So much history together, and wishing Larry the best for the rest of the season in Atlanta. Please, folks, please follow Larry on his Instagram, Larry Nance Jr., and follow his Athletes versus Crohn's Instagram. So that's at Athletes versus Crohn's. And then also online, www.athletesversuscrohns.org. Okay. And he's going to be posting about his golf tournament coming up, how you can donate. Might be a meet and greet that, you could take advantage of if Larry's coming through your town the rest of the season. So once again, thanks again, Larry. And thank you for the great work that you're doing. So folks, as always, please tell all your friends to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Legends of Sport. And of course, our Instagram at Legends of Sport. And my photography can be found on Instagram at ADB Photo Inc. Big thanks, as always, to our producer, Carlin Barker, and our editors, Sean Gosser and Addison Xiao. Big thanks to our main sponsor, our presenting sponsor, Fujifilm. You can find them on Instagram at FujifilmX_US. Got to say that again, at FujifilmX_US. Big thanks to Fujifilm for continuing to support the Legends of Sport podcast. Folks, all of us here at Legends of Sport continue to extend our thoughts to everyone affected by the horrific fires in Los Angeles. We recently partnered with our friends at Charity Buzz to offer an auction of beautiful prints from some of the greatest photographers we know, all to benefit the LA Chamber of Commerce's Small Business Disaster Recovery Fund. Please check our social media on how you can help donate to the small businesses who were directly impacted by the fires. Thank you for all your support. Thanks again, everyone, for checking out this podcast. I'll be back next week, as always, with another great episode on the Legends of Sport podcast presented by Fujifilm.